Hey, what's good, guys? I gotta get the hotkey set up for this because start having to look at this screen, click it over, and I'll look bad. But welcome to Life is Chaotic. This is a podcast I do once in a while. Just talking about different things going on in our reality, music, politics, everyday life things, how to become a musician, things of that nature, how to record. So recently, there's this movie that came out. It's bringing a lot of attention to a serious topic that usually just gets cast to the side or seems like gets pushed under the rug, and that's the topic that the movie The Sound of Freedom is about. Now you got to be careful what you say, how you say it on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and we are live on all platforms right now, including Kick and Trovo. So if you see me trying to think of a different way of saying something, dance around just the flat out way you should say it, it's because I've seen the trend of how people get demonetized, censored, shut down whenever talking about this subject topic or anything to do with this. Sound of Freedom is a movie that's came out. Come to find out, it was made 5 years ago. And if I heard it right, they say it in this clip right here that I'm gonna play by let me see real quick. PBD, which I forget what the acronym means. His full name, Peter. Probably should have looked that up before we started watching this. It's a big podcast where a couple guys are on there and they talk about like main things, relevant things going on, and a lot of different things. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's the PBD
Why did you
podcast.
get that?
Trying to see what the acronym. Patrick Bet David. That's right. There we go. And
Next topics.
he's talking about the movie coming out, and his co-host. And I found it really interesting, and I found it'd be a good way to start this podcast. Um, Life is chaotic. Turn up the music. It's been the type of theme concept that I've been on lately, the last couple of months. I am a musician, a rapper. I have an album out called Life is Chaotic Volume 1 on all platforms if you want to check that out. Let's get into this clip real quick.
Sound of Freedom. Have you seen the movie yet?
So a lot of people have asked me this.
Yeah.
As a new mom, I don't think I can emotionally handle it, just
Okay,
because of the
that's fair.
subject matter. And I cry during Pixar movies. I'd be a total mess.
Well, have you seen Elemental?
Yes, I did get a.
Just to clarify, I have not seen it yet. My son was watching YouTube with me, and we saw the ad come up for the movie. And then he asked me a funny question. He's like, "What's the Sound of Freedom sound like, Dad?" I was like, "Huh? I never even thought about that." Like, I mean, being a veteran and a soldier and taking freedom very seriously, and something that I've stood up for and been out and protested and put my forth and my say and opinions on things and done my anything that I can to make sure that everyone has their right to speak what they want, their opinion, and has a way to do it. And whether or not other people disagree with it, they have the ability to be able to do that. 2020 during the George Floyd protests here in Tucson, it got really, really big, and I was out there more as a observation, documenting everything, but also like, hey, don't be doing that. And 99% of the time, a lot of what was going on, the agitation, the violence, the vandalism, wasn't actually the protesters. It was the police instigating, causing things to happen, saying that the protesters were doing things to have a right to do what they were trying to do, bottling protesters in a matter that only made them feel agitated, confined, etc., etc. It's quite interesting. But yeah, so I've yet to see the movie, but I do want to watch it.
I didn't even like the movie. I got teary-eyed. I'm very,
But with
very
that, with my son asking about the question, what's the Sound of Freedom sound like? I decided I want to write a song upon how I was describing him. Well, it's when a kid becomes free from being kept in a very bad situation because individuals decided they wanted to do bad things, and I just went into a whole bunch of different scenarios, and he was just like, "Oh," and it led me to writing a song about it, and I'm working on it little by little. Maybe I'll play it sometime during this podcast. I haven't bought the beat yet, but I do plan on purchasing it from Jack Parker Beats. But it might flag the podcast, but it's all good. It's worth it. So I got a good demo
So I
so
saw
far.
the movie. So here's what happens. We're in Bahamas, and we're trying to find a movie theater to go see this. We can't find it. Finally, Tikron finds the movie, and we're like, shit, we're going with 25 of us, and the kids want to watch Indiana Jones. What do we do? So Indiana Jones is playing at 1 o'clock. Sound of Freedom's playing at 2 o'clock. Good news, they can be in movies. He says, tonight, audition is at such and such time. Today, the audition is, tomorrow's audition
So
is
he's
such
going
and such
in
time.
detail what the movie's
Your
about.
kids can be models. They can beginning. You're going to feel the pain of the father taking his kids, a daughter and a son, who is approached by a recruiter saying, your kids can be models. They can be in movies. He says, tonight, audition is at such and such time. Today, tomorrow's audition is such and such time. Father dresses in a suit, takes him to this room, and he takes the kids there. They're excited. Put the kids in the room, and the girl says, come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He says, what do you mean? Come back to pick them up at 7 o'clock. He leaves, comes back 7 o'clock. No one's there.
See, I don't know about you, but I ain't leaving my kid nowhere, regardless of what it's for, alone with people that I have no knowledge of who they are, except that it's an audition for something. No way. Some people are gullible like that. I would never do that, but I've seen and been in a lot of chaotic, traumatic, different events as a kid, as an adult. So it's just I'm very cautious.
That's how the movie starts.
Yeah.
I
By
gotta
the way,
turn down my air real quick, guys.
it's disturbing.
It's chilly.
It's emotional. It's tough. It's painful. At the end, Jim Caviezel gives a message. When the movie ends, 3 minutes later, he's given a message, profound message that you have to watch. The stats that they gave, that 20 plus million child pornography pictures were uploaded on the internet the last year, a 5,000% increase in the last 5 years. The idea where they said every year 2 million kids go into trafficking, going into being sold in the black market, and then stats about how you can sell cocaine one time, but you can sell the same child 5 to 10 times a day for 10 years is what you can do, and it's $150 billion a year industry. And Jim is in it, the story of Tim Ballard, what he did. And then while this is going on, everybody needs to go watch it. I want to watch it first. It's a decision you need to make. I want to watch it first. I know what it is to be I don't know what it is to be a mother, but I have a wife that's had 4 kids, and I know how tough it is for a mother to see it than a father. Our perspective is more protective. Yours is more, you gave birth, it's your body. I recommend everybody to go watch this thing here and share it with everyone you know, because this is really taking place. This led us to yesterday having a conversation with many of the people in Glendale that are going.
It's crazy, like the random stories that I'll see looking into it about kids being taken and put in dumbs, or they're bunkers underground that used to be government military installations, and you don't want to believe that anybody that is established as a government official or is a part of any type of agency would have any ties or anything to do with it. But the more you look into it, the more you find out that there's so much corruption. It's
going through the challenges they're having with
insane.
GUSD. We did the Zoom yesterday. We're excited about launching the event in Glendale. The biggest concern right now is every major hotel will announce what these places are, and we'll give the names out so people know. Has said no. Every Armenian hall in Glendale has said come and do the event on what's going on with LAUSD and GUSD, with what kind of content they're trying to put in the schools, and we will announce the date here very soon. First, we're going to announce it underground because we want the right people to show up. Then I'll announce it publicly, and everyone's worried about, rioting, protesting, all this other stuff. Here's the point. While this movie comes out and it's doing so well, can you show up how Rolling Stone responded
it took them 5 years to get it out.
I send you those different screenshots when I airdropped it to you. What Rolling Stone said about Cuties versus this, what different platforms said about Cuties versus this. And by the way, while you're looking for that, maybe show the clip of the video of what the CNN person said about this, if you know which one I'm talking about, where the CNN is asking a question. So what do you think about this movie? There's a lot of people that are saying that there's some right-wing QAnon, what do you think about this? And this guest, you should...
It's interesting, quite laughable upon how they manipulate things nowadays in social media and platforms. And it's like, rather than tell you don't look at it this way, they tell you to look at it this way so you'll look at it another way. Manipulation to the highest with everything. And this is why 90% of people don't pay attention, because they don't want to be manipulated or care or want to take the time to look into things, because like who has the time to keep up with everything, how fast politics are, but not even that, just the way social media, what's coming out and what's being allowed and what's not being allowed. For example, artificial intelligence and how much it's dictating how laws are being wrote to kind of constrain, limit it, but it's too late that it's already been out for an extended period of time, that the laws are going to be outdated by the time they come out.
See what this guest right there, if we can make that bigger, you should see what this guest says about this movie.
Pretty familiar with him.
Watch this. Go
See,
on.
like,
Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch.
They're trying to use the QAnon as like that's a relevant thing in our society and anything nowadays. Like it hasn't been essentially like anonymous. Just okay, well, we've moved on. It's more than likely there's nobody in QAnon or associated with it. You could probably go on Reddit and find groups where there's people and remnants of people who are still hardcore that because they don't have anything else to do with their lives, and that's their star that gives them motivation and determination to wake up every day and focus on something. I don't know.
Watch
Man.
this.
And you seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. He's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts. He's speaking at QAnon conventions. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure, and the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true, and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing, and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But these films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites, and only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element. You're not just going to see a movie, you're just killing 2 hours on a hot day. You are helping bring down these pedophile rings.
No, you're bringing attention to it by talking about it with your family and friends, because you're aware of it now, where therefore previously you weren't, because of this movie that's came out, when a lot of movies are censored, not allowed to come out, because of the fact that it does cause everybody to talk about the issue.
Children. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling.
You know why you have to trust this guy, Pat? He has books behind him. Anybody that sits with books,
Smart.
But notice it. If you work out, you're a white you're a white supremacist, whatever. If you're, by the way, this movie was like they actually have footage of everything that happened of Tim Ballard, because it happened.
Did you see the movie?
I saw the movie.
Oh, you saw it? Wow.
I saw the movie, and
I didn't know that.
I was telling Pat some crazy moments are where they actually had footage, undercover footage or surveillance footage of people in third world countries and stuff going up to people like a kid wanders in the street. They grab them in a van and they're gone. It's not a conspiracy theorist.
No.
And then it begs the question when people are like, why does...
It's like, I'm trying to remember the movie. Is it Taken, where she's at the airport and essentially, I'm trying to remember where I seen this. It was like somebody ends up getting in an Uber because they ordered an Uber, but it's the wrong Uber, and because she gets in the wrong Uber, she gets taken. And that's all. But then there's other scenarios where they follow people as soon as they get dropped off at the airport. When they come out to see where they go, to logistically see how they can take them if they're quote unquote takeable. The kid thing, living where I am in Arizona, right close to the border, you hear about stories all the time about kids being taken, girls. I was on a Greyhound one time coming back from Cali to Arizona, and I had met a female that had escaped the cartel, and she was paranoid as hell, and trying to have a conversation with her because, you know, I used to pick up chicks when I go on Greyhounds. This is when I was single. And man, she didn't really want to go into anything, but over time, after sitting next to her and her getting comfortable, she, you know, essentially explained to me how she got away and how long it had been, and it was years. It wasn't months, it wasn't days, it was years. And the look on her face, cause she started getting like freaked out, paranoid. I don't know if she saw somebody, recognized somebody or something, but she hurried up and got off the bus at one of the stops and then wouldn't get back on the bus. I don't know if she felt like maybe I was trying to get her to go back, or I was like who knows, you know, because cartels run deep, yo. And that's not no over exaggeration. That's not a conspiracy. They are embedded in America in a lot of different ways and capacities. It's interesting.
Does one side want open borders? And why? If you think about it, Pat, there's a fact. 350,000 unaccompanied minors come across the border since 2021 till right now. 85,000 of them have gone missing. And then that begs the question, why is one side just like, no, the border's secure? Mayorkas, that little rat. No, the border's open. that is just an inventory of just human beings coming in, and it's like for them.
I don't know if you guys seen these documentaries, these videos coming out about people visiting the borders and checking them out and how open they are right now. Like the border wall never got finished. It's like, I don't remember. I want to look that up. How complete is the border wall? Let's do that real quick. Let's find some actual information. This is U.S. World News. .458 miles of what is dubbed the border wall system, according. Oh, they stopped. They had built. See, yeah, there's big old portions. Look at that. Recently built, pre-existing in blue. That's interesting. Some 226, or nearly half of their total miles built, run along. Okay, so out of the 400 and, what did it say? 458, only 200 of it. And see, there's parts where you can essentially put a, what is it, a ladder and be able to jump it or go under. Interesting. Not cool.
Them to say that it's QAnon and it's fake, it's like they don't want people messing with their influx of children. It's a huge problem, and yes, they made money off this movie, but now look how many people are talking about sex trafficking and these kids, and at least somebody now is opening their mouth. And by the way, this movie was made 5 years ago. I don't know if you guys, this movie's old. Now
which movie?
Sound of Freedom. Yeah.
Nobody wanted to put it out. Go ahead, Lauren. Go ahead.
Well, it was made by Fox before the Disney acquisition. So then Disney they essentially didn't release it. They didn't want to release it.
I think I said Sony, but yeah, Fox had made it. Disney acquired them.
Sold it to this other studio, and the studio actually had to crowdfund to get a theatrical release. So that's kind of what's ironic about the fact that it did beat Indiana Jones, at least for one weekend, is that this could have been money going to
crazy.
Disney, but it's also kind of suspicious. Why didn't Disney want to release this movie? Was it not in line with their branding?
And by the way, isn't Disney?
Is it an independent film? I thought it was, and then it got picked up. Small independent studio. Disney backed. Interesting. See, I heard it was crowdfunded. They had to get it crowdfunded to be able to get it pushed to release.
A kids channel, isn't it, like about kids and protecting kids? So why wouldn't you want to protect kids worldwide? Isn't that kind of weird?
Perhaps they don't really want to.
And isn't it shocking, Lauren, that they're talking all this stuff about conspiracy? Are you trying to act like Epstein didn't have an island and flew people?
Yeah, that we know this for a fact that this happened?
He was murdered. Don't believe the hype. He was suicided himself. That's all bullshit. CNN producers getting caught left and right for pedophilia. The numbers are staggering. It's in the news. It's not reported a lot. And just perverted people, Pat. To Catch a Predator. You guys know that show?
Yes.
Disgusting.
We had Chris Hansen on here.
Guess what? That show can run every single day for forever, because there's no shortage of pedophiles. The only reason that show stopped is because one of these idiot demons ran in the house and killed himself.
And that's what's frustrating about that CNN guy. He's acting like moral outrage over this is bad or unwarranted. He's asking as if, it's to spread fear. Yeah, you should be afraid for your children. You should be actively trying to prevent this. Why is moral outrage bad when this is something that's objectively evil?
This is an area to be intolerant in, like zero tolerance for this. By the way, watch this. So Rolling Stone, look how different the titles.
And so many people want to just, oh, as long as it's not happening to me, as long as it's not my kid, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to do anything because it affects my own life and impedes anything that I'm doing. It's insane anytime you try to speak up about any type of quote unquote conspiracy that there's a lot of people talking about and bringing attention to, and they are doing quite the amount of energy, work, time behind the scenes to make sure that nobody really pays attention to that. I mean, for example, right now, the France situation and issue, and the fact that it's pretty much civil unrest to the max. I mean, there's so many examples I can bring out upon how the manipulation of media brought out in a certain way or held so that it doesn't cause some, it's just pure propaganda. Look over here while this is going on over here. And it's crazy where we're at.
Are Sound of
This
Freedom,
is huge,
a
though. It
superhero
needs to
movie for
be
dads
brought
with
down
brainworms. The QAnon thing,
in
the
every way,
thriller about
fashion,
child
form.
trafficking, is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. Okay, pretty wild. Now let's go to the next one. Watch this next one here. The Guardian. Cuties Review. Netflix's controversial child exploitation film is bold, flawed, and misunderstood. Misunderstood. Okay, so here's the next one. Cuties Review. A coming-of-age movie caught in the culture wars. Thanks to a major marketing mistake, this award-winning French movie has been accused of sexualizing girls. It's actually a sensitive portrait of growing pains that deserve to be seen. Are you kidding me? Go to the next one. Okay, the human traffic film Sound of Freedom trashed by liberal outlets as QAnon adjacent. So when you see this, then go to the article about post-millennial that talks about, if you can pull this up, that talks about Rolling Stone editor-in-chief spiked reporting on friend getting arrested for child porn. This was a story from March of 21st of this year. If you want to go to page 24, if you can pull that up, that picture right there, that's the article right there. I'll read it to you. So Rolling Stone editor-in-chief Noah Schachtman removed references to child pornography charges from a story about ABC's producer James Gordon Meek, who was later charged with possessing child pornography. Schachtman, who was friendly with Meek, edited the piece and urged journalist Tatiana Siegel not to include the words child pornography in the story, claiming that the FBI's interest in Meek was unrelated to national security or journalism. Schachtman's decision to edit the story and remove key information about the child pornography investigation raised concerns within Rolling Stone. Siegel was reportedly not aware of the changes until the article was published and was angered by what she saw as interference. Schachtman justified his edits by stating that Siegel had not adequately verified her sources. When you read this stuff, this is what we ought to be intolerant towards.
Right, and there, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the meme from Oren McIntyre, don't make me tap the sign, and then it's just this post that says, it's not that complicated, they just want to diddle kids. And I think we all have a normalcy bias where we would like to think this is just not that common, shadowy, it doesn't really affect our lives, but this is, like you said, it's everywhere, it's very common, it's too common, and there are a lot of policies that we could actively change that would prevent this, things like closing the border, because there is a huge porous, I mean, I remember, what is it? Melania Trump, she got made fun of when she was talking about the coyotes on that recorded tape and how that was an issue. I mean, the left-wing media is like, what is she thinks happening, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't have to say anything about it, but the fact that you're even going out of your way to discredit this problem,
it's a known thing and highly just like whatever here in Arizona about coyotes. I mean, it's not that hard to become one. Man,
it's very suspicious. That's all I'll say. It's very suspicious.
They're protecting their own. Like that's how the left operates.
No, if you don't know what a coyote is, it's a person who runs people from Mexico into the U.S.
For that, and mind you, that guy's name was Miles Klee, the Rolling Stone guy, who locked down his Twitter account like a pussy because he couldn't take the flack of like, you mean to tell me girls twerking is a coming of age in the culture. Like, what the hell?
Would you qualify that as whole tendency for him
That's
to?
a big time
that's
whole
kinda- Okay,
yeah.
Rob, I just sent you something on how
Unbelievable.
grooming works. Check this out. If you can show this meme here, Rob. I just text you and I put it on your computer. So the question then becomes the following, right? We got 5 more minutes here before we wrap up. I wish we had more time, and we got like so many freaking stories to go through, but I got 11 o'clock, max 7 call. So if you can pull this up, does this work? Is this an effective strategy? Well, here we go. Let me just show you this picture here from a kid in 2015 to 2022. That's the kid on the left, now grown man on the right. Bingo. Grooming works. It's actually very effective strategy. And yes, you can convert due to your environment. I did a video on the history of LGBTQ,
The dark
exposed,
history.
the dark history, and I got a lot of messages about it. People say, Pat, I don't know if you should upload this. If you haven't seen that clip, I suggest you go watch it because it tells you how it got started and how it was categorized just in 1973, 50 years ago, and what's been happening with this level of growth and conversion of people by generations. You know how they say the older generation doesn't give a shit? They're like, the older generation doesn't give a shit what you think about them. Like, dude, if they're going to smoke weed, guess what? Who the hell are you? I'm 75 years old. I don't give a shit what you think about me. Who cares more, the younger generation or the older generation?
Yeah, all right. I don't want to get into that stuff. I mean, yeah, I got my own opinion. I'm not against anything to do with that. In the same instance, you can see a lot of manipulation in the media and how people think and how they're trying to get kids to think. And how if you get a kid a choice, here's one object, here's another object, they're going to make their own choice. Of course. But if you don't steer them into, I don't know. We're not going to get into that. It's just, see a lot of things about it. Now, see, this interview with Andrew Schultz is quite interesting. You know, I need to change to my other account that's premium.
Do you think Soros is a patriot?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what that guy is.
Okay.
I don't even know what he is. I hear the name. The name is popular. I think he's done a great job of like making himself be mysterious and not even in the conversation. I think
It's like the Wizard of Oz.
yeah, it's like just now
Okay,
with
so-
the internet. Like think about this. This is fascinating. This is how
Who these guys are talking about is George Soros. He is a well-known rich person, part of the 1%. And he gets tied into a lot of conspiracies. For example, Black Lives Matter. Because a lot of these organizations or conspiracies that he gets tied to, he's supposedly funding them through shell companies. It's quite interesting.
you know that guy got some influence and control. We know everything about Jeffrey Epstein, everything about Ghislaine Maxwell. I got bikini pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell, right?
Yeah, you do.
Nobody even knows George Soros. They barely know his upbringing. They kind of like this guy is actively supporting these district attorneys in these liberal cities and destroying the fabric of these liberal cities and these liberal states. If he's doing that and we got one picture of him, that's different level. And it is possible that a guy like that is at odds with the people that want America to be successful. And he's found a way to profit off of this. And who knows? I don't know why they would even let a guy like that exist. If there is an all-powerful they that's trying to protect America, why would they let him exist? Who the fuck is he? Can you tell me who he is?
Oh, there's no way in the world, like right now, if you look at, are you familiar with ESG, DEI, and CI?
No. Is that a new
I
gay
didn't
thing?
even know what the fuck you just said, to be honest with you.
What?
It just came out of your mouth.
Lesbian,
Sound like
gay.
you said a
Let's
bunch
talk
of
about
cuss
tequila.
words.
The best kind of tequila sitting out there. I don't know if you guys had it this last Sunday one. We gotta have it afterwards. So apparently these guys, if you're not, they're mixologists, is what you guys are.
Yeah.
It's this protein drink. Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah.
With Celsius and
Oh.
tequila is what you guys drink every
Every
day. I'm so
day.
impressed by this, what you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So go back to this. Okay, so ESG,
Oh, okay.
CEI, and DEI, okay?
ESG is about environmental something group that's out there to making sure companies are making the right decisions. So Larry Fink and BlackRock say things like, we're going to force people to.
It's the start of the social credit score, essentially for the higher companies, corporatizations, I believe.
To do the right thing. There's a video of him saying this. We have to use force to make companies do the right thing. DEI is called your diversity, equity, and inclusive score. How good of a job you do here, this will be a good score.
We're doing pretty
Just so
good.
you know, we're doing really good here all around. This will be a great score here, okay?
Yeah.
Except one of you guys, two of you guys has to be gay.
You don't know how we
So that's the one
identify,
part. So
bro.
we
We
got
got
one of
some
you
gays.
guys
Check
got to
that
make a
off.
decision here. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you have CEI, Corporate Equity Index Score. Okay, so what the hell does this mean? So Dylan Mulvaney, okay,
Yeah.
goes out there and gets the drinks from Bud Light.
Yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney didn't do anything wrong. Okay, Dylan Mulvaney just got the Bud
Got a
Light
check.
drinks. He's
Got
like,
a
listen,
check.
great.
Yeah.
So Dylan does what Dylan does, and he's on Drew Barrymore, and he's doing all this stuff, and
Yeah.
he's doing his, stretches and all these weird stretches that we can't do. And anyway, so Bud Light comes in, he's drinking. People on the other side lose their minds. What the hell was this all about?
Yeah.
Why are you doing? And the VP of marketing for Anheuser-Busch comes out and says, well, look, here's what we have to do. Let's face it. A lot of the beer drinkers are these frat. We just kind of have to find another audience, and we couldn't do with this. What the hell are you talking about? Who drinks Bud Light? You forgot who your audience is. No problem. They did that to get a higher ESG score because Anheuser-Busch is one of only 20 companies in America with a perfect 100 score. So watch what happens. Then the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, former Marine, former CIA officer, okay, is the Anheuser-Busch CEO. Sharp guy. Comes out and they do the horse commercial, okay? They're like, no, we're going back to horses, more horses. And then he makes a statement about the fact that we're this, we love America, we do all this other stuff. Perfect. Bud Light's numbers are down 28%. 28%. Coors Light is up. Then, when Bud Light is now backtracking about the fact that they lost their customers, which is vets, Americans, just regular beer drinkers who don't even think about politics.
Yeah.
I just want to have a beer. I love America. Then when he made the apology, and the ESG folks took it as apology, they said, nope, Anheuser-Busch officially lost their perfect score. They had a chance to stand up for themselves and really do something about this and defend the transgender community. They did not. We're lowering their score, okay? So now it's like, what the hell do we do? Here's a problem what they did. Rather than understanding who your audience is and making sure your audience is happy with the customer, with the product that you're selling, you try to make ESG happy. So who's behind ESG? Larry Fink, BlackRock, all these guys. But the HRC.
See, it's interesting they bring up BlackRock whenever they talk about ESG. Because you hear BlackRock supposedly buying out all rental companies. Or rental facilities. But from what I know, BlackRock way back, BlackRock was contractors for Iraq and Iran, for veterans or people who wanted to become contractors overseas. Yeah, investment strategies. Interesting.
Score, which is the DEI score and the CI score. HRC is a company that gives these scores. HRC, human rights something. If you Google what HRC stands for, I don't know what the C stands for. It's Human Rights Community. Human Rights
Human Rights Campaign.
Human Rights Campaign. Human Rights Campaign goes and gives the scores, and they tell you what you need to do to improve your score of ESG within your company. So guess who gave $100 million to HRC? I want to say in 2012. You can verify this. In 2012, HRC, that dictates what your scores are and comes and scores these people, was given $100 million by this guy named George, last name Soros. Okay? So, okay. So what, Pat? What's the big deal behind this? So, then we go to a complete different space. You look at Hollywood, what announcement they just made, right? I don't know if you guys saw the announcement they made last week. Hollywood made an announcement, the Academies made an announcement last week. Moving forward, for you to be considered to win an Oscar, you have to have a third of your crew or the main actors or even supporting cast or even people behind the camera be part of the underrepresented community, which the underrepresented community is LGBTQ.
It's such a double standard dictation. Like, making people have to go find diverse people.
I think it's women, it's black, it's disabled, it's all these things that they have, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a third be a part of that, guess what? You are not able to get nominated for an Oscar, which means, if we go to Titanic, would have never been nominated and would have never won. If we go to Godfather, it's not going to happen. If we go to all the, Saving Private Ryan, not going to happen. You go to all these great movies that have won Oscars, that'll never happen. So what does this do? A Richard Dreyfuss comes out and says, wait a minute, what are you talking about? The whole concept of being creative was for me to be let loose so I can do what I'm doing. By the way, here's a part that Hollywood has completely lost their minds. Do you know why movies in America went to Hollywood? Do you know the story behind why we make movies in Hollywood in the 20s? Do you know how this happened?
Nobody would hire the Jews. So the Jews went out and made Hollywood.
But where did they escape from? Where did they leave and who dictated the rules? You know who dictated the rules of Hollywood and movie making?
Who?
A guy named Thomas Edison from Jersey. They left Jersey because Thomas Edison had all these guidelines of making stuff that you had to do. You had to go through this, you had to go through that. They controlled all of it. You can type in Thomas Edison, 1920 Jersey, Hollywood leaving, you'll see the article. So they go to Hollywood.
Edison, like the light bulb?
Like the Edison. Yes, Edison.
So
Did you
Edison,
find it? Did you find the article, Edison?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, so Edison, the light bulb Edison guy, forces the creatives. Are like, dude, let me alone. Let me just go make what I want to make. Why are you doing this to me? Let's go find this one city called Hollywood. They go to Hollywood. In 1920, 95% of all motion picture movies were made in Hollywood. They gave the double to Jersey and to Edison. They go to Hollywood. They make the movies today. Yep.
wow.
Thomas Edison drove the film industry to Hollywood.
Wow.
They left him. So here's what's crazy. From 95% of motion pictures being built in Hollywood to now 50%, 55%. People are leaving Hollywood to different cities. They're sick of this game that's being played. So people forget, like, go back and figure out why Hollywood started in the first place.
Because you made it too difficult to make movies here. Now you're doing it again.
Now you're doing it too.
And why? What does George want from this? Is he profit-driven? Like, I don't understand his...
I have my own opinion.
Yes, please. What is your own opinion?
For me, okay, so...
It's like a secret society type thing. If you have enough money, if you have enough people that are in the higher echelon type of society, then you can influence, you can structure, you can manipulate how things go.
There's a lot of different fears people have. There's a lot of different fears people have. There's a fear about overpopulation. Oh, that's one of the biggest fears that we have, was overpopulation. Elon Musk comes out and talks about the underpopulation. We need people.
Declining population.
If you go really look at the founder of Planned Parenthood and see what the hell her vision was and how she was worried about all these kids being made, and if you see her interview with Wallace, just go watch this 26-minute interview with Wallace, and you'll see what she says. When he asked the question, do you believe there's such a thing as a sin? Do you think we're committing sins by preventing these kids? No, I think we're doing the right thing because these kids shouldn't be born in this difficult life and all this other stuff. No problem. Statistically speaking, and then morally speaking, I'll give you statistically first and then we'll go morally. Statistically, China, when you look at their population, a inverted pyramid is when a society is healthy, meaning a pyramid is where society is healthy, meaning the youngest at the bottom, 0 to 4 in China in 1950, the biggest percentage of the China's population in 1950, you can pull this up as well, was 0 to 4, okay? Then it's 5 to 8 and all this other stuff, right, when you look at their age. So today, China's the complete opposite.
They have tons of old people, not enough young people to support them.
And their cost of Medicare just 20 years ago was $500 billion. Last year was $8 trillion. They don't know what to do with this. They're dealing with this 4-to-1 rule, which is for every one kid, he has to take care of 2 of his parents and 4 of his grandparents. But 1978, 1979, they came up with the one-child policy. China took it. They used to do 4, 5, 6 kids. Per now, it's 1.1 is where they are.
See, that's interesting. So it's just... Yeah, you always hear him being mentioned upon controlling. Like during the protests, they said that he was the one that was putting the pallets of bricks out for the protesters to be able to use to break down windows and stuff, and essentially make the riots become worse. Who knows? Actual fact, they never really came out and said if that was true or not. But alright, I want to show y'all guys what I have so far for the track that I'm working on. I think I have it exported. I might not have yet though. Let's see. Yeah, it's not gonna let me play it that way. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, here we go. Not finished, this is pre-mix also, but it's a good idea and a good demo about what it's gonna be like. What's the sound of freedom sound like? He asked as I stared into his blue eyes filled with innocence and love. He asked one day while we discussed what we were going to embark on, to accomplish with the choices we were allowed to make as the ad popped up on the screen for the movie. Well, instead of being dictated where we need to go and how we should think, I started to ponder how I could honestly explain what the word was and what it truly meant, and how easy it can be forgotten about and taken for granted, abuse towards others who are just trying to do their best to exist like you and me. And because there are sick people in this world who have the agenda spreading that evil and darkness instead of that light, and they don't have no reason to exist in this world. And it's our mission to remind others that it can't allow to be even the slightest notion in any of the angels in the universe is mind that it's okay to slack, no, not even just a little. When we can't see what happened, it's the time to bring out the weapons and load up the belts and magazines into the seamless layers and get ready for the war that's been inevitable. We was just waiting for the first blood to be shed. It's the sound of the 70-year-old girl being saved from a bunker underground after being kept there for years, crying after seeing her mom and dad for the first time. It's the sound of the 20-year-old girl on a Greyhound sobbing because she just escaped the cartel after years of torture and being raped, and she just can't calm down to explain to me that she just can't trust any male in the world at the moment, and it's better if I just take another seat. So she freaks out and jumps off the bus at the bus stop. Yes, I truly do pray that she finds a mind and a sanity one day. It can be easy not to be able to put yourself with someone else's shoes when you can't truly feel their pain. It's the sound of that little boy open his eyes to the lights of the blue and red peering through the window, when the man that's been keeping him chained and locked up in a room, except when they abuse him and did things no I'm only seeing himself could imagine to do to anybody little alone. A helpless kid pulls out a gun and decides that no one is gonna be safe, and he unloads a magazine and then the last one into his own head. Very little attention is brought to the issue. The more that the light gets shed on it, the more that it gets reflected, casted onto the peons instead of the head, the ones behind it, allowing it to exist and propagated for it to be forgotten about. More money, more money, more money. And if you say anything, they'll make it disappear or get canceled. Epstein you while you in a safe environment. You always got some type of way to reach out and touch you when your loved ones get stuck until you go insane. No, they make way too much of that money out the human trafficking, and it gives them a way to blackmail others and doing their bidding. And don't say nothing, because if you do, what's the matter? They got pictures of you on the island with deep fakes nowadays. I can only imagine the type of videos they could magically make, compromising anybody they need to do what they want. The corruption is spreading throughout the system, and we all know it.
What does the sound of freedom sound like that?
Yeah, so that's what I got on that so far. like I said, it's not finished. It is a good demo, though. But that's going to do it for this episode of Life is Chaotic. Just a couple things I wanted to get into, show you guys this song. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you guys one more song I've been working on. It's a re-release, previously called Positive Vibes, but I'm renaming it Knowledge Quest. So you guys can keep an ear out for this one.
Like a river, but never say you'll be drowned out like the ocean. For the best is you. The angels envy the importance of your existence in this universe. Was it just a curse? Does it get worse? Lay it down on the floor. Do you want more? Well, I'll be sure that we demand more from the gods. Yes, I really do adore when it goes just right. Open up another door to the quest to gather the knowledge and pass it along. Limitations of our mind leave us to feel trapped and confined to what we know. No infinitive, definitive, smaller than an egg. Way to interpret the answer that was given as a gift. Or forever fight a right in front of your fist. Let it go, you might be able to see through the mist. Exist in the wish, but don't give it your all. Just enough to be missed. Give the earthbound human just a kiss. Assist on pecking one thoughts before they get lost. Techniques of the immortals. Be a pass through the lesson not being said, but being fed into the system injected. There might be a lot that we missed. Rewind it back in our reality. Is it better not to suggest a ponderment rather than dictate the will of another? The best can be taken within the chest. Flow like a river, but never say you're drowned out like the ocean. For the best is you. The angels envy the importance of you in this universe. Was it just a curse, or does it get worse? Is it better than ever before? Lay it down on the floor. Do you want more? Well, I'll be sure that we demand more from the gods. Yes, I really do adore when it goes just right. Open up another door to the quest to gather the knowledge and pass it along. But I'm not too sure they can fully grasp what's going on until it's past the moment. Sees it for what it is, living through the time on which the planets align. See exactly what you need in your mind, project it out by saying it in a line with the positivity. Watch the negativity start to decrease. 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 So like a river, but never say you're drowned out like the ocean. For the best is you. The angels envy the importance of you in this universe. Was it just a curse, or does it get worse? Lay it down on the floor. Do you want more? Well, I'll be sure that we demand more from the gods. Yes, I really do adore when it goes just right. Open up another door to the quest to gather the knowledge and pass it along. To gather the knowledge and pass it along together.